Early Childhood Leaders of Color Collaborative. Thank you for listening in to this onboarding session. We'll spend the next few minutes talking through some of the key information you need to understand the why behind our collaborative and to begin understanding how you might be able to get involved. The Early Childhood Leaders of Color Collaborative is a nationwide collaborative that is self-organized and self-determined, focused on increasing the sustainability, social capital, and power of early childhood leaders of color. Promise Venture Studio is a nonprofit venture studio with a mission to support innovators and accelerate innovations for equity in early childhood development. The Early Childhood Leaders of Color Collaborative is the flagship program of Promise's Unite strategy. Promise program strategies and 3-year goals are to accelerate the impact, depth, and scale of equity-driven social ventures, to increase the impact of the field's top 100 equity-driven ventures, to unite BIPOC and proximate innovators to drive sustainability, social capital, and power, to support the field's most restorative and powerful community of BIPOC innovators, to connect innovators and ventures to sources of capital and customers, to facilitate the field's most equitable marketplace of capital to ventures. Learn more about other offerings to ECD social entrepreneurs at promisestudio.org. What is the Early Childhood Leaders of Color Collaborative? We heard ECLOC aspire for a liberatory environment. ECLOC desire a network of peers they can turn to for shared learning, mentorship, support, and care. Access to culturally reverent, equity-centered professional development and capacity-building opportunities. A platform to stand in collective power to advocate for transformative public and private funding and policy changes. Time, space, and resources to support restoration and healing, individually and in community with other ECLOC. To counter feeling isolated, dehumanized, demoralized, with few avenues to turn to. To counter capacity-building supports that miss the mark in terms of their experiences as a leader of color. To counter a fragmented ecosystem where ECLOC lack strength in numbers. To counter operating under immense exhaustion and burnout. 2 proposed recommendations were co-designed and co-developed with ECLOC in design convenings. The Early Childhood Leaders of Color Collaborative, or the ECLOC Collaborative, to build community for shared learning, collective action, and rest and restoration. We seek for this to be 200 plus strong of BIPOC leaders and social entrepreneurs in the ECD field. Here's one of the things we heard in our design convenings. Achieving our impact goals requires us to think about how we build a collective power that I still don't think we have. Philanthropy Action Group for Equity, or PAGE, exists to change funder policies and practices that harm BIPOC-led early childhood orgs. We seek for this to be 15 ECD-focused orgs committed to adopting equity-centered funding practices. A major challenge is all the strings that are tied to when you get a grant, the reporting process, the check-ins that you have with funders. A lot of that structure feels like it's serving the funder, not the people. To shift power back to leaders and communities, the ECLOC Collaborative will influence the action, agenda, and priorities of the Philanthropy Action Group for Equity. We launched the collaborative to create an affinity space to steward in a more liberatory environment. We have 150 plus active members across 30 states, representing diverse identities and all areas of early childhood development. Guiding principles of the Early Childhood Leaders of Color Collaborative are: we are a national ECLOC organized network with ECLOC-directed programming. We affirm the experiences of ECLOC. We respect and value ECLOC's time, burdens, and responsibilities. We provide value for the individual leader, their organization, and the ecosystem overall. And we center liberation as the end goal. Increased sustainability means ensuring ECLOC are sustained and feel a sense of belonging. Increased social capital means building relationships and networks that facilitate cooperation, coordination to advance individual and collective goals. Increased power means creating the conditions that allow for the ability to influence and exert desired change in community. ECLOC Collaborative's programming pathways are aligned to an impact framework that was created with ECLOC. The collaborative programming pathways are community and network building, creating opportunities for peer-to-peer connection and networking, leadership, growth, and development, engaging in culturally responsive and equity-centered skill building and wisdom sharing for ECLOC, healing and restoration, supporting individual and collective healing and restoration as an end, not only as a means, systems change efforts, using collective power to advocate for transformative funding and policy changes. Who are the early childhood leaders of color in the collaborative? Early childhood leaders of color, ECLOC, driven by equitable outcomes, are doing incredible work in communities of color across the country. The 150 plus organizations in the ECLOC Collaborative represent missions and movements focused on improving family and household stability, birth equity, early infant and maternal health, social emotional learning, early education, child care quality and access, support for differing abilities, and workforce compensation. Let's take another look at the ECLOC Impact Framework. Our impact categories are increased sustainability as a leader in the ECD field, increased social capital among ECLOC in the field, and increased power for ECLOC in the field. Our impact framework looks at short-term indicators and long-term field outcomes that we seek to understand how we are able to influence. Ultimately, the outcomes we seek to achieve reflect the top-line outcomes Promise Venture Studio strives to as an organization as well. Here are some vehicles for self-determination and co-creation. The ECLOC Collaborative's working group's purpose is to set the direction of and actively engage in the co-creation of our ECLOC Collaborative. Reach out to Jess at promisestudio.org to learn more. The Funder Advocacy Working Group's purpose is to build collective power to influence philanthropic organizations. Reach out to Vance at promisestudio.org to learn more. Co-creation sessions are held for collab members to co-design and curate experiences from the in-person retreat, programming events, and more. Mighty Networks, our online community hub, is a great way to engage with community and with collaborative members in your area. You can plan a regional meetup with collaborative members in your region by submitting this form to begin. You're in. Welcome to the Early Childhood Leaders of Color Collaborative. Now let's get you set up. First, join the Mighty Networks, the Collaborative's online community hub. Click here and download the mobile app. Introduce yourself and complete the welcome checklist in Mighty Networks. Take your time to complete each step and make sure you populate your profile so other members can have the information they need to connect with you and begin building relationships. RSVP for and attend an upcoming event. Join our shared calendar via Google here. Reach out if you have any questions. You can email Jess, Vance, Erasma, Grant, or Jamie, and we're happy to meet with you to discuss any questions or feedback you may have. Inviting someone to join? Direct them to complete the informational form on the ECLOC webpage. Thank you for joining the Early Childhood Leaders of Color Collaborative, and welcome to our community. We're excited to undertake this journey with you. Until we meet again, take care.